If you can
I
hear me.
can, I
Yes,
can
I
hear
can
you.
hear you.
Yeah, you can
Yeah,
hear
you're
me.
good.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Well, hopefully, so first of all, welcome. And I'm sure we will have a few more people chime in as we're here. So I've got people doing yoga classes and texting me, and I've got dance class happening with another person. So we've got a few people that may join in. So I'll apologize, but I will let them in because it's not that they don't have their shit together. It's just that they have lots of other commitments. So if you're here today, hopefully you are not here by accident. Hopefully you're here because you want straight talk. And it's funny, I have launched other communities and launched other programs, and my own children keep saying to me, why don't you talk to everybody the way you talk to us? And so, in the spirit of taking pointers from them and from my mother, it seemed like getting your shit together was the right language as well as the right intention for this community. And so hopefully, if you've landed here, this will all resonate with you. We're only going to take 30 minutes of your time today to explain what this is about and why it's here so that everyone will know actually how to use this community as we move forward. Because I do believe this is the way education, sharing, learning, self-help, all those things are coming together as we move into the future. But what I'm going to ask you to do, just so that we're all kind of present here, is just take a breath and take a pause. It's Saturday morning, and the world hopefully operates a little bit more slowly and more calmly on a Saturday. And so I'm just going to ask you to take a breath so that we all just kind of go with this with a pause. So just breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And I've started this off with a blank slate or a blank canvas because I really think that for me, that is what has been a bit of a guiding light for me as I have gone on to figure out my own life. In one of the posts this week, I shared with everyone that I went to a retreat many years ago. And at that retreat, the intent of the retreat was that you were going to go off into the wilderness by yourself for 3 or 4 days. You were going to be about a mile away from everyone during this time, and you were going to have to self-sustain during this time. So the only sustenance that you had was this crazy concoction of water and syrup and cayenne and honey. And then the other thing that you obviously had were tools for managing, your own physical requirements. So when you had to go to the washroom, things like that, your sleeping bag, your tent, etc. And that was it. There was no technology. You were asked not to journal. You were really literally there to sort out your own self-sufficiency and how you were going to navigate the days ahead. As I'm saying this, I'm just going to pop in my earpods. There's several of you here, and hopefully you can still hear me. And so the objective really of that time was for all of us to come together individually and collectively and sort through the challenges that we were facing. So the last day before we were going to depart, we had a dinner together. So we all kind of called it the last dinner because that's kind of how it felt. It felt like the Last Supper because we were literally going off into the wilderness and there were bears and snakes and everything. It was wild, I do have to say. And so as we are preparing for that, there's about 30 of us who have chosen to embark on this exercise. And we're sitting having dinner, and the shaman who is leading us through all of this asks each one of us to share what we're hoping to figure out while we are alone up in our wilderness settings for the next 3 or 4 days. And of course, each person is typically there because they're grappling with something. And so there was a lovely young woman. She was about 23 years old. And when it came time for her to explain, she stood up, introduced herself, and shared, I'm here because I'm trying to figure out life. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know where I want to go. I have all these voices coming at me, and I'm just here because I just want to sort through it and figure out what I want. So obviously, then she sat down. We went on to a few other people, and there was everything from dealing with loss, dealing with marriage breakups, dealing with health issues, myriad of different conversations. We came to this one woman, and I'm trying to remember her age because I do remember asking her, but I want to say she was 72 or 73. And she had been a minister for many years of her life and obviously had worked with a variety of people. And it was her turn. She stood up and she introduced herself and explained a bit of her background and the kind of work that she did. And she then pointedly looked at the 23-year-old young woman and said, I'm here because I'm trying to figure out what to do with my life. I have all these voices around me that are telling me what I should be doing at this age and stage. I'm not exactly sure if I've lived the life that I chose or I wanted. I've definitely lived a positive life, but now I'm really questioning, what do I want to do with my life and who do I want to be and where do I want to go? And for me, that really struck me. So at the time, I was in my early 50s, and it struck me because it it made me feel as if our humanity is universal and we're all kind of struggling with life, which I'll get to in a few moments, led me to write a couple of books. And I think that it was also the precursor, without me even knowing it, to actually creating the community that I've created with all of you and also doing the work that I do. And so, what I have come to discover through all of this is that we really need to get clear, but clarity is so tough for us to figure out in life because there's so many things that are constantly happening around us. So, we are born, we start to learn things, we start to walk and talk, and we're navigated through a process and through an education system and through a familial system and then into a work system and a how to kind of live your life set of protocols that are all around us. There's not a user manual that actually comes with our life, but there's definitely a lot of influences that are constantly circling us and guiding us in different directions. And while I think on the one hand, that's awesome because guidance is very helpful, on the other hand, sometimes that doesn't allow us to actually see clearly at our core and our root what we really want. And I firmly believe that clarity gives us focus, and focus gives us momentum. And it's really hard to peel back all the layers and get to a point of clarity, which is why, in fairness, I think I've created this community partly for myself and partly for everybody else. But I think it's because I think at the end of the day, we all need to kind of get our shit together in our own proverbial way and figure out what it is that we really want. Stop thinking about all the voices around us, stop overthinking, and really just start putting the wheels in motion. There is never a good time to start. And so the point is just start, just start. And with that, we'll learn and we'll figure things out. But I find that in so many companies that I work with and individuals that I work with, that putting one foot in front of the other is obviously the greatest fear factor that we have. And yet, that one step forward could be a true game changer and a life changer. The framework for the Get Your Shit Together community is super simple. So, Get Your Shit Together worked for me, but the letters also worked for me too. And so, obviously, to ensure that I don't get delisted from every social media and every email goes into junk mail as a result of the language, the letters actually mean something. So, S stands for self, which is obviously our center and our core. H stands for health. And, we hear all the cliches, your health is your wealth, and that we need to really focus on our health. And let's be honest, I think we take our health for granted sometimes. And so, how do we actually figure out how to navigate that and figure it out in our life before it becomes oh my God, I have this health issue? So I think that's an important piece that we need to figure out how to intertwine. If there's other things that we so easily integrate, and yet we kind of look at our health as this block sometimes. And maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but I think I sometimes speak for some of the people that I coach where it feels like you actually have to put this as such a clear mandate as opposed to weaving it into our life. And I think I'm all about weaving things into our life. Intention for me is about goals, but goals driven by our vision for our life, our legacy that we want to leave, and how we really want to be remembered, and our values. And really, when we look at our vision that we want for our life and our legacy, those two things help anchor us so that we're not just hustling towards the future and all the goals that are out there, but our legacy helps to ground us and keep us very present, and it allows us to realize that we need to savor working towards that bigger dream, but at the same time, enjoy the moments that are happening around us all the time. Enjoy our family, enjoy our friends. Otherwise, we'll miss those in pursuit of those other goals. So there needs to be a balance. And I think that's where intention and really planning out our goals and our from our vision right down to our legacy really can help us ensure that we create the balance in life that we need to ensure that we're happy and fulfilled and purposeful every single day. And then the last piece is time. It's funny. I coach people from 24 to 69. And obviously, I'm also a prof, so I work with students that range in all ages. And if I feel like there's one topic that everybody wants to talk about, it's managing time, because I think there's no holy grail to managing time. But I am hoping that I can share with everybody some tools that I've created to help me manage my time, because my life, I'm similar to yours, I am sure, is crazy. I'm pulled in lots of different directions. I'm sitting here in my mom's condo as I'm talking to you versus in my own home. She has some upcoming things that she needs support on. So, we're always pulled in a million different directions because of the loves in our life, be it work or family. And so, how do you manage all that time, manage your career, and manage the things that actually you want to achieve? So, as I say all this to you, I'm sure if I was you, part of me would be like, do you actually have the credibility to be here? What have you done? What have you been through that suggests that you could pull some of these frameworks together? Well, this is a really ugly slide, but I share it because of the ugliness and the reality of it. I mean, when I first was graduating from university, I kind of thought life was a straight line. I had the plan in my head. I had decided who I was going to marry. I knew essentially, basically, how many kids I was going to have. And I kind of figured that, if you want to have kids, you put it in your day timer. And then that would just happen 9 or 10 months later. Soon found out that wasn't really how it happens. And I was going to be on this trajectory for life. The reality was, it's been a bit of a shit show. I'm not going to lie. There have been lots of ups and downs. My marriage imploded. We were going into a period of great success. Then we lost that success. I've had lots of career changes. And so there's been lots of ups and downs and twists and turns. Added to the life piece, the good news is I have these three crazy people in the center who continue to be my three crazy people. And when I say crazy people, so all three of them live in three different countries and three different time zones. And one of them is actually listening today. And so while I love them, that was not something that I ever expected for my life. So that's just an incremental layer of shit show craziness that sometimes adds an expectation on myself that I didn't really expect. When I share that life part with you and I add it on to the business part, so I think that the business part has also equally had some ups and downs. And I literally, went from a very structured environment at Nestle to managing a joint venture between Nestle and Coke, which was two different organizations with two different ways of looking at business, to working for a holding company and starting up an agency for them. Again, another totally different model. And we became very successful in a short amount of time, but where we had a disconnect was in the values. And then again, I went and did this with another group of partners. And as I was doing that, I started to realize a little bit of the ups and downs and chaos in our lives and the lack of an integrated plan for our lives. So in business, we have very solid strategic planning processes. We write annual plans, we write long-term plans, we have monthly, quarterly check-ins. There's all of these indicators that help us focus and set forward a plan, but then keep us on track. And in our personal lives, we have those, but we don't have the same committed structure. There isn't that same expectation because, in fairness, this is something that we create and do for ourselves. So it's rare that we, go from a vision board or a vision session to actually then laying that down and figuring out how does that actually, ladder into or connect to the legacy that we want to leave behind. What does that mean for our values? how does that lay out and fold into the the plan that we have in our current lives? So how do we actually integrate the goal of buying a house or starting a company or doing whatever the goal is and integrating into our already busy lives where we've got families, businesses, and all these things pulling us in different directions. So then often what happens is that personal goal that we have gets put back on the shelf or gets pushed off to the side, or it becomes something that we can work on once a month. And so as a result, something that ideally would have taken us, you know, a month or two to execute takes us years because we get pulled in different directions and we get tired. We get caught up with laundry and chores and all the other things. So a few years ago, you can see off in the corner here, I wrote a book called Life Blueprint, and it was meant to be an explanation of this strategy that I created for my personal life so that I had a strategic business plan for my life. I then, a year ago, launched How to Do Life, which is just the workbook format of that. But what it did is it gave me this opportunity to sort of share with others. There's no preaching in it. It's strictly a framework that allows you to figure out what you really want, who you are, what your limiting beliefs are, what your goals and achievements have been, what your values are, and it brings it all together into one place. It's almost like you have a million pieces of a puzzle that are all parts of your life, and now you put the puzzle together, and now it has a nice picture that you can see very clearly. And what that allows you to do is as you are traveling through life now, you actually have a plan. Still opens the door for spontaneity and other things to come into place, the amazingness of life. But it also allows you to make sure that you're staying on track and making that bigger picture come into existence so that you feel fulfilled and purposeful every single day. So my hope is that with this community, it's a little bit of a wake up call without having to have anything traumatic happen. Obviously, I had some, and I have had a series of events that have kind of been wake up calls that have said, you need to do this. And I think as recently as a few months ago, I had another wake up call that was like, honestly, you just need to speak and talk the way you teach in class. And my children will often hear me actually teaching my students, and they're like, why don't you just talk like that to everybody? Because it obviously resonates with your students, it resonates with the people that you're coaching. And then when you go on social media, you're this whole other person. So, hence the Get Your Shit Together community, because that is how I talk. And that is how I am with all of my students. And hopefully those tools will also equally resonate with you. I think that what happens with so many of us is that we get trapped in thinking we need to wait. We need to wait until Monday morning to start something. We need to wait until we finish, this set of duties or this set of responsibilities before we take on the next thing. And the truth is, in the waiting, we lose time, we lose energy, we lose momentum. And so there is so much learning in just the doing. And I think now in this craziness of the world with the speed of things, the speed of AI and everything, action is what will help us all not only survive, but thrive. And so I'm hoping that what we do in this community is give everyone that I got your back momentum to say, you can do this. And if you don't know how to do it, there's got to be somebody in this community who can lead you in some direction, provide you with some tool and or support and or that hug that you need to go that next step. So I thought I would, at this point, just sort of ask you guys a question and invite you to think about this. Obviously, you're here for a reason. And so, what is something in your life that you're tolerating or that is getting in the way of what you want to do and who you could become? And just think about that for a second. And, the first thing that comes to my mind when I ask myself this question is a bunch of what I'm going to judgmentally put on myself as excuses. Well, I have to do this, and then I have to do this, and I have to do this. And I'm not sure where those have to do's all come from. My doctor once said to me when I was going through my separation with my husband, Your children need 3 meals a day. They don't need three five-star meals a day. They need clean clothes every day. They don't have to have, the best of the best clean clothes every day. They need, clean socks, clean underwear, clean pants, clean shirt. So do we have to have all the laundry done? When you look at the work that you do, are you holding back from finishing something, finishing a project because you still don't think it's perfect, or you're caught up in analysis paralysis because there's that one other piece of information that you think is going to be the golden nugget. And yet, when you get that information, it actually just opens a Pandora's box of a whole other questions that you could ask. And I think sometimes this is what we do. We get on the spiral of asking ourselves all these questions, opening up all these opportunities that could be, oh, this could impact, oh, this could impact. And that's amazing. But at the same time, it halts us from actually putting our foot forward and making a decision and giving it a shot. And so I ask myself this all the time, and I would ask you to ask yourself this, what is the worst thing that can happen? If the worst thing that could happen is that your idea fails, there's going to be learning in that, and you're going to iterate or pivot and find a way to make it work or find a way to do something else. But at least you will have tried it. Imagine, like, we all say, and everything that you read on people who are in their dying days is their regrets. Well, I don't know about you, but I want to go out like kicking and screaming and swinging off rafters. And so I want to have as few regrets as possible. And so it's my opinion that hopefully we try and do as much as we can now. So I ask you to think about this, but what is actually limiting you? And is it a real limitation? Is this a limitation that somebody said many years ago that you need to let go of and literally draw a line in the sand? And if it doesn't serve you moving forward, leave it on the other side of the line. Walk towards the beach and the sunrise. Leave that garbage behind you. So I'm going to ask you to think about that today. I wrote this manifesto because I felt we needed a manifesto for the community, but I'm certainly going to put it out there for everybody to contribute to. But I did it because it's something that, to be honest, I kind of needed. And so I thought other people might need it. So I'm actually going to read it to you because I think that's kind of what you do with a manifesto. So we believe you don't rise to the level of your intentions. You fall to the level of your habits or your highest level of training. We believe clarity is not something you wait for. It's something you earn through awareness and action. We believe overthinking is not intelligence. It's fear dressed up as logic. This is a space for people who are done circling, done consuming, done almost. Here we choose progress over perfection, decisions over distractions, and responsibility over excuses. Getting your shit together doesn't mean your life is tidy. It means you're leading it. And if you're willing to act before you feel ready, you belong here. I want to make a point in this. So I wrote this very much as a direct, no bullshit manifesto to myself that I thought equally may serve others. But you'll notice in the second line right here, where I actually say, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. I actually just meant, I don't think it's going to let me highlight it, but you fall to the level of your habits or your highest level of training. One thing that would probably be ideal for everybody to think about is look at all of your accomplishments. Look at all of the things that you've done and really go back in time. Obviously we can't probably go back to the day we first learned how to walk or to talk, or we won the spelling bee, but if you could actually go back to that, what each of those accomplishments did without you even realizing it is it gave you the courage to move to the next accomplishment, and then the courage to move to the next thing. And I think sometimes we think, oof, like, am I brave enough or capable enough to do that next thing? And yet you are brave enough and capable. You've proven that you could do all these other things. That's what got you to where you are right now. And I think sometimes we forget that, and we need to actually take the step back and be like, oh my God, look at actually the things that I have done over the course of my life. And you can't diminish or take away from that training. You can't fall below that. That training is now within you. It's like the air you breathe and the amazing strength that you have accumulated over time that can't be taken away from you. The knowledge you've accumulated can't be taken away. And so when you think about that and you think about, oof, that fear in stepping forward, lean into what has got you to this point right now. Because you're definitely pushing yourself probably out of your comfort zone. But dear God, you've got all of these different layers of success that you have probably forgotten about. And it's amazing what we so easily forget about when we are in a point of tension or fear because we forget, oh my God, I did all these things. I've actually overcome so much. Of course I can overcome this. But in that moment of fear, we think this is actually going to rock us when in fact, it's just reminding us that, we've already got the muscle strength and we can actually handle this and go to that next level. What is and isn't going to happen in this community is, I love all the cliches, and I do lean into quotes, but I'm not all about the cliche and quote person or the community, and I'm not here just to be rah rah and cheerleading. I think that we all need that. We all need to know somebody has our back. But I'm hoping that the purpose of this community is that we have your back and we give you the tool to step forward. We give you that strength. So it's like, I'm going to give you the hug and then I'm going to hold your hand and kind of like give you that nudge to move to the next step. So my hope is that KPIs, so key performance indicators, whatever you need to help support and track the endeavors that you have, that we're here to help you achieve those. And so I think sometimes laying out our goals, I did a post a couple of weeks ago on, for me, the difference between goals and resolutions. Every New Year's, I don't know how many million people around the world set New Year's resolutions. And the challenge that I personally have with resolutions is I have historically felt like it's a list of 5 or 10 things that we need to literally start doing the next day. And what that doesn't take into consideration is that the next day, we already have a bunch of things that we're doing. And so now we have to add these 5 or 10 things in. And so, how do we actually do that? Whereas with goals, when you actually have a goal, ideally a goal is specific, it's measurable, it's something that you can see is actually achievable, and it has a timeline attached. I can sit here and say to all of you, as a resolution, I want to lose 10 pounds. We all know that the next day I'm not going to hop on the scale and there's that 10-pound loss, although that would be great. That's actually not going to happen. And so, there's got to be a process that puts into place so that that happens. And that's true of all of our goals. And I think sometimes we've got to be like, okay, so using that 10-pound as an example, do we need any tools? Do we need any support? Do we have to hire a coach? Do we have to talk to a nutritionist? Like, why don't we look at it as holistically as we look at a business challenge? Because if there was something happening from a business perspective in the marketplace, we would definitely take that business challenge and we would tear it all apart and figure out how best to achieve that goal. And I would suggest that we need to be equally as kind to ourselves, tear apart the goal and figure out what we need and put all of those elements in place. That's a guarantee for success because now we actually know what we need, who we need, and the path towards achieving the goal at the end. And so I'm hoping that within the community, we can have some of those honest conversations, help each of us fill in the steps towards achieving the goals and actually help each other be accountable to those. Because I actually think, and I said this a couple of minutes ago, clarity breeds focus. And when you're focused and you know it needs to be done, then you have momentum. And I truly believe that one definitely does lead to the other. So I thought I'm going to plant a seed and leave everybody in a task for the next 24 hours. And I'll also post this in the community. So I'm going to ask you to actually post one thing in the community. And this is your thing. The thing that I've been avoiding, but I'm committing to take action on in the next 7 days is blank. And my hope is that it's something that feels slightly uncomfortable. It might be something you don't really want to do, but that it's very specific. It's very real. And to be clear, you don't have to explain or justify this to anyone. And I think that's a key piece to this is that within the community, it is a safe space. There is no judgments. There is no shoulds. I have a little stone in my bathroom at home and it says, don't should all over yourself,
which is actually quite apropos for this community because we have all of these voices that are telling us shoulda, woulda, coulda. But let's not lay all that on ourselves. Let's definitely take the, oh my God, look at all the amazing stuff that you've done and use that as fuel for the fire to actually make your goal come to fruition, to life, and actually make it come to fruition. I'm losing my words. My hope is that what doing this is it actually simplifies it and it puts it out there. Sometimes putting it out in the universe makes it so. And so sometimes, I think we hold things to ourselves. And so therefore, it's also sometimes really easy to give up when you are just keeping it to yourself. When you voice something to someone else, obviously choosing wisely who that someone else is so that you don't feel like you have someone nagging at you, but you have actually somebody supporting you in the achievement of that goal, it actually makes you feel like, oh, like I got to do this. I put it out there and now I'm going to take those steps. So for some of you, that could be writing that book, writing that movie, starting that side hustle, getting your shit together at home, doing your laundry, making your bed every day, whatever it is. My hope is that through this, what you will start to see is you'll start to see the things that no longer serve you and the things that start to serve you well. So this is going to sound a bit crazy, and this is where my woo woo will come in, but I actually write out the things that don't serve me. And usually on a full moon, I will have them written out on pieces of paper and I will burn them and just release them. Does that make it so? Does that mean that those things don't come back up in my head? Sure, they start to come back up, but what it reminds me is that I said they don't serve me. And so in that proverbial line in the sand, I've said they're going to stay back here because they're not actually going to help me move forward. And so, ooh, when I feel it creeping in, I'm like, ooh, you're not going to actually help me. It doesn't serve me to know that. So you're going to stay here and I'm walking towards the beach in the sunrise because that's much more pleasant. And I think what will start to happen is you'll start to see that you'll start to shed that. That's what happens for me. And I'm hoping obviously the same starts to happen for you so that you can start to move forward much more easily and fluidly. And it doesn't feel like a burden. None of this should feel like a burden. It should actually feel like we're taking the weight off your shoulders and we're all carrying it together so that we can all live the lives we desire and deserve, which I totally think we need to have. Like, I totally think we all deserve that. So the other thing that I often talk about is, how do you kind of keep this together day to day? And when I first started to lay this out, I feel like so many of us start whatever we're going to do on a Monday. And I will share with you on a personal level, I kind of set myself up sort of on Friday afternoons, but very intentionally on Sundays. I take about an hour or so in the morning because that's my time. I feel like the world is quiet. I can get a copy of the Sunday New York Times, which has a crazy, amazing creative section. Bit of a segue you didn't need to know, but it's very relaxing. And so I can sit and have a cup of coffee, enjoy that, and sort of plan out my week with quiet, peaceful intent that is just about actually what I want and need in order to do the work that I do. So I find the work that I do very fulfilling, but it's a lot of energy out. And so, how can I balance that and ensure that I also want to achieve the things that I want to achieve? So, using this week as an example, I had a full week of work, but it was really important to me to launch this community because it was important to me. And so, how do you fit that into an already busy week and cluster of activities? So to that point, I kind of use different days of the week as guideposts in my week. So I use Sundays as a bit of a guidepost to set myself up, but I put in here for many of you that could be Monday to actually do a little bit more of a structure. I am also I'm a big tool person, but I don't like I'm not I don't believe in buying a whole bunch of tools. So I use my online calendar for all my meetings and things that are date sensitive. And then I also carry a day timer, maybe because I'm old school, but this is more of a to-do list thing. So do what works for you. And I will actually lay out my goals and my intentions. So, and when I find that when I actually tactically write it down, that I stick to it much more easily. So think about that for yourself. I find that when I actually lay out my goals by writing them down and laying out the calendar by hand and then embedding it in my online tools as appropriate. And in my day timer, I stick to them much more rigorously. I don't know, maybe I think it just embeds in your mind better. There's been a study done by Harvard Business School that says when you listen to an audiobook while reading the audiobook, you absorb it more intensely and more quickly. So to that point, I kind of think if you are doing multiple things, but you're actually writing it and then you're transcribing it appropriately. It's not meant to duplicate the work. It's meant to ensure that you've actually got the tracking system in place so that you stay whole and stay on track. So Sunday, Mondays are really about making sure that everything's on track. Obviously, I'm constantly checking in, but so this happens to be what works for me. So Wednesdays, because I do a full realm of teaching off-site and then coaching in the evenings on Tuesdays. So Tuesdays are a really kind of outward intended energy day. So Wednesdays, also middle of the week, good opportunity for a check-in. So you will note in the classroom, specifically in the calendar, I have a WTFU Wednesday morning call, which is wake the fuck up. And the intent of that call is for people who really want a bit of a shot to the head or whatever it is, a kick in the ass, whatever the issue is, where they're struggling with something, but they want some tough love. And so the tough love will always come with compassion, but that's the purpose of the WTFU Wednesday mornings is like, what do you need that you are literally in your mind dawdling on? And how can I help you get out of that dawdle? Like, what is that one thing that we need to help you course correct so that you can get on track? And then Fridays for me are a great opportunity to sort of do that review. And I like to do this on Friday mornings. I like to do my review early on Friday mornings. So if I have any catch ups or preparation for the week ahead, I can get that done on Friday so that I can actually enjoy my weekend and not feel like I am, stressing over the decisions that I've made or the work that has or hasn't been accomplished so that I can actually plan that in. And then from an ongoing perspective, this is where I'm really hoping we can lean into the community. I'm hoping that through literally using the community portal as a place to share your thoughts, get feedback, think of it as your place to DM or WhatsApp each other and get questions asked or answered. And maybe you have a thought for somebody else. I mean, I gave you the analogy at the very beginning of that table of people where I had the 23-year-old and the 70-year-old saying, we're here to figure out life. Well, all together, I got to believe we can figure it out together. So that's a great place to do that. My hope also is that maybe you have the chance to check in on the tools that would drop. So for the next 5 days, so starting Monday, I'm going to be dropping, I'll have different sessions similar to this. And as part of that, I'll drop different tools for each one. So on Monday, we'll be talking about self. On Tuesday, we'll be talking about health. On Wednesday, we'll talk about intention. And on Thursday, we'll talk about time. And then on Friday, we'll just do a little bit of a wrap up. The WTFU will also remain on Wednesday for anybody who wants or needs that. And then as we move forward, I will continue to add more tools to this community as they're required. But I would also say that if you have something that you want to add, then let's get that added and happy for everybody to share. So even as you're posting something in the community, you're welcome to put links to Google Docs or whatever that could definitely help somebody else within the community. So please don't hesitate to do that. As I shared that bit of a framework with you, obviously there's going to be things that pull us off track. And I certainly have things that pull me off track, both that I cause and the world around me causes. And so when I feel stuck or I'm starting to do that, I will say the very first question I ask myself is, does this serve me? And is this about me? Because sometimes the things that pull us off track, first of all, don't serve us and might actually have nothing to do with us. Could be something that is going on with another person in their own corner of the world. And we just happen to be the person that they're screaming at the moment. But I would just sort of ask you to ask yourself these questions. What story are you telling yourself right now? And is that the right story? Where did that story come from? I was watching a horrible TV series, Housewives of Palm Beach or whatever. And I think that was part of the catalyst actually to this community, even more so, pushing me to do it even more so. And the number of challenges that they were bringing up from things that had happened years and years ago. And at some point, I kind of feel like, for sure we all carry that with us, but at what point do we stop allowing that to control the happiness that we could have? And so that's where that, what story am I constantly telling myself? Oof, maybe we got to leave that on that other side of the proverbial sand that I talked about. When we talk about health, one thing when I start coaching someone, so I don't know how if any of you out there are coaches, but I do ask everybody to go and get their health completely checked. Get your blood work done, talk to your doctor, make sure you're taking all the right vitamins and supplements. How, although ChatGPT is not our doctor, and neither, and my doctor always said to me, just don't go Google it on Safari. It's amazing the resources that are available that can help us at least take a look at our energy levels. And we might be stalled for reasons that are entirely physical and we don't even realize it. And so I always think that that's a really important check to do in your body before you start to beat yourself up for not having the energy to do something or for moving forward on something, because maybe legitimately there's something that we need to address here. Obviously, we've talked about intention today, but think about what really matters. We set these goals, and if you peel back the layers to a goal, like what is the real motivation for some of our goals? And when we dig down to the real motivation for a goal, sometimes we'll realize it's either not a goal that we really want, it's not a goal for ourselves, or that's actually the real motivation. And I need to remind myself that that's my motivation so that I keep going. And the crazy example that I gave you a few minutes ago of me wanting to lose 10 pounds as an example, it's actually 20, but I'll tell all of you 10 right now. Sure, there's a health format that goes with that, and I'll look better in my clothes and all those things. But the real reason when I peel back all the layers is that when I eventually am a grandparent, I want to be able to do anything and everything that I can with my grandchildren. So I want to be the grandmother that can take them surfing, that can go camping with them, that can build a tent, that can take care of them at 4 in the morning if my kids have have to go to work or whatever. I want to be that grandparent. So I want to be healthy and able-bodied. So when I peel back all the layers, that's actually my real motivation. And that motivation for me personally is much more powerful than the motivation just to feel better in my clothes. Got to be honest. So I think sometimes, and I'm not saying that that's right or wrong or applicable to everyone, but in peeling back the layers, you'll sometimes find that little nugget that is the real reason that you're going to go do Tai Chi walking or whatever it is every single day. And then I think the last piece is so I will share something in the community this week as well when we do the time section, because I think there's some simple little tools that can help us manage our time. I manage 4 or 5 different businesses, and so I really think about how I'm going to allocate my time against them, and I prioritize that. In addition, a few months ago or a few years ago, I'm not sure, I created this vibe chart which really allows you to take a look at your day and when are your energies are high and when your energies are low, and to kind of plan your work accordingly as much as possible. So I love to write, and I get really resentful if I don't get a chance to write at some point during the day and do some of that work for myself. And so I actually block off time so that I get to do that work over the course of the week so that I don't hate the rest of my life and the rest of the work that I'm doing. And so it's just knowing some of those things about yourself, which sounds so dramatic, but we all know there's certain things that we really like to do. And so build that into your week so that you are serving yourself as well as serving everyone else, because it's only in making sure that we're happy that we can actually serve everyone else to our fullest and provide the services that we need at the end of the day. So obviously, I'm going to start to bring things to a close. I don't even know what time it is. Oh, wow. I promised everybody 30 minutes. I lied. I need to get my shit together. But hopefully you showed up today for a reason. And, I always think this is our time. So I probably say that to my kids all the time. It's your time, it's your moment. What are you waiting for? So I think that I hope I've inspired you to think about this is your time. What are you waiting for? And whatever it is that you need, then please let us help support you in doing that. I shared with you some of my career trajectory. Hopefully, there are some even business learnings that we can bring into this that can help support. Because I think when you bring business and life together and you have an integrated plan, that's when we live the most fully. Because if the two are respectful of each other, then we actually have good days and we don't worry about work-life balance because there is a general flow. Admittedly, things definitely can get haywire at times and throw us off track, but obviously it allows us to continue to move forward because there is no perfect plan. There is only the best plan in the moment, and at least by having a plan, we can adjust. And I think this will hopefully give all of us enough tools and enough knowledge to continue to move forward so that we don't constantly feel like we have to go buy that next self-help book, that next tool, that next piece of whatever it is that we think that we're missing, that is really just the barrier to us actually just going forward. We know the people who've written the books, done the tools, done everything. So my hope is that as you have done this today, that in 5 years from now, when you reflect back, you're going to be like, I'm really glad that I had that conversation on Saturday, January the 10th, 2026, because for me, the light bulb finally went off that I can do this and I want to do this and I'm going to make the time to do this. And please note that I didn't use the word should. This is something that is very much of your own design. I am in no way passing judgment here. I'm here, and my entire goal and my passion is to actually help people achieve the goals that they put in front of themselves. And as recently as last night at 5:30, I'm helping a 69-year-old artist create an incredible exhibition for her 70th that is going to be all about her legacy. And that's the work that we're going to do together over the next year. And so what is it that you have that we could all inspire each other to help achieve so that you're like, "Oh my God, I'm so proud of myself. That was something I really wanted to do." And I took it off the shelf and I actually did it so that you're happy, proud, and positive 5 years from now, and you don't actually disappoint yourself. That's my question to you. So, friends, as I leave you, my hope is that you will ask others to join the community. There will be blueprints and tools that will drop. We are the Shit Squad that will hopefully keep each other accountable. When I took this picture, I will tell you that there was coffee in the mug and there is still coffee in the mug. There is not vodka in the mug, but that we're all here to help and support each other. The exhibition sounds like an amazing legacy. Honest to God, Sky, I have to tell you, it's going to be amazing. I'm actually super excited. I think I actually closed the call more excited than my client was because I was like, oh, this is amazing. Okay. So I think when you get that excited about somebody else's goals, that's a pretty fulfilling day. I'm not sure if anybody has any questions out there. I'm happy to answer questions, but otherwise, I am going to remind you to please, please, please post in the community today one thing. One thing that you've been avoiding, but you're going to commit to take action on in the next 7 days, and we can help each other to stay accountable to that. Also, please check out the classroom. I late last night uploaded something for each day of the week, as I've shared with you, and I will continue to post talks and opportunities for us to come together. And I would also say it's a great place for you to say, like, can you help me here? Can you help me there? And happy to share those tools, arrange for a time for us to chat. No problem doing any of that. So, anything out there from anybody? Does anybody need anything before I bid you adieu and let you go and enjoy an amazing Saturday?
I'm good. Thank you.
You're good? Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
thank
Thank
you.
you. I'm so glad you're
Thank
here.
you,
We
Nicole.
have to find a way to meet live, Danina, as opposed
Oh,
to just constantly meeting over Zoom. We have to figure that out.
okay. Look forward to it.
Okay, I'll
Thank you
text you.
for organizing this.
Thank
No,
you.
my problem, Fifi. Hopefully this helped you, and hopefully you're on your AI
Yeah,
track too.
yeah, thank you so much.
No, my
Thanks. Bye,
pleasure.
everybody. Bye.
Okay, well,
Thank
thank you,
you.
everybody. And Sky, thank you for all your help over the past couple of days. I totally appreciate it. And hopefully I have fixed all those links. So thank you, thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate you
Take care,
having my
guys.
back. Okay,
Have a
bye,
good
everybody. Bye,
weekend.
Bye.
Gabe. Bye, Vic. I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you, everybody. Have a
Bye.
great
Thank
day.
you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I'm just going to